He walked into the room like he owned it. Broad shoulders, confident smile, the kind of energy that made people turn their heads. Everyone assumed he was the strong one. But 3 months into the relationship, she noticed something. Every disagreement turned into a fight for control. Every compliment she gave someone else made his jaw tighten. Every time she needed space, he needed reassurance. He wasn't strong, he was performing strength. And here's the strange part. She couldn't explain why she felt more exhausted than safe. Why she felt like she was managing his emotions instead of sharing her life with him. Here's the surprising truth. Real strength in a man has almost nothing to do with muscles, money, or how loud he can talk in a room. Psychology has spent decades studying what actually makes a man secure and what makes him fragile underneath the performance. And once you learn to spot the signs, you'll never look at strength the same way again. But before we dive in, take a second to subscribe. Because YouTube rarely shows the same videos twice, and if this one helps you understand people a little better, there's a good chance we may never cross paths again. Now, let's uncover the 5 signs psychology says reveal a weak man even when he looks strong on the outside. Sign 1. He needs to win every argument. Not because he's right, because losing feels like disappearing. Psychologist John Gottman spent years studying couples, and he found something fascinating. It wasn't the couples who disagreed that struggled most. It was the ones who couldn't handle disagreement without defensiveness or contempt. A secure man can hear "you hurt me" and stay in the room. An insecure one hears it as "you failed," and suddenly the conversation isn't about her feelings anymore. It's about protecting his ego. That's why some men interrupt, deflect, turn every conversation into a debate they must win. But here's what almost nobody realizes. Winning the argument and losing the relationship happen at the exact same time. Sign 2. He needs constant validation, but can't admit it. Scroll through his Instagram. Gym pictures, success posts, subtle flexing dressed up as motivation. On the surface, it looks like confidence. But confidence doesn't need an audience. Then something unexpected happens. Take away the likes. Take away the comments. Take away someone telling him he's enough. And suddenly his mood collapses. Psychologist Brené Brown calls this the difference between self-worth and self-esteem. Self-esteem is built on what others think. Self-worth doesn't need permission. A weak man borrows his identity from outside validation. A strong man builds it from the inside and lets the outside be optional. Sign 3. He can't sit with uncertainty, so he controls. She goes out with friends. He texts 4 times in an hour, not because he misses her, because not knowing feels unbearable. This is where most people make the biggest mistake. They assume jealousy is love. It's not. Attachment researcher Sue Johnson has spent her career studying why people cling, criticize, or shut down in relationships. And what she found is that most controlling behavior isn't about the other person at all. It's about an old fear, a fear of abandonment that was never healed, just hidden behind control. A secure man can tolerate distance without panic. A fragile one needs to shrink her world just to feel calm in his own. And it changes everything about how safe a relationship actually feels. Sign 4. He mistakes emotional shutdown for strength. I don't get upset. I don't need to talk about it. I'm fine. Sounds strong, right? But psychology discovered something fascinating. Suppressing emotion doesn't make it disappear. It just goes underground and resurfaces as irritability, distance, or sudden anger over something small. Esther Perel, who has spent decades studying intimacy, often points out that emotional avoidance isn't calm, it's armor. And armor keeps everyone out, including the people who love him. A man who can say "I'm hurt" instead of "I'm fine" isn't weaker. He's actually doing the harder thing. That wasn't stoicism, it was fear wearing a mask. Sign 5. His mood decides the atmosphere of the whole relationship. Good day, everyone's happy. Bad day, everyone tiptoes. This is one of the clearest signs psychologists look for because it reveals something deeper than temper. It reveals a nervous system that was never taught how to regulate itself. Daniel Kahneman's research on decision-making shows how much our emotional state distorts our judgment in the moment. But a mature adult learns to notice that distortion and pause before reacting. A weak man lets his emotions run the room. A strong one learns to feel the storm internally, without making everyone else live inside it. Here's what makes this bigger than just one relationship. These 5 signs aren't really about romance. They're about identity. Somewhere along the way, many men were taught that vulnerability equals weakness, that needing help is embarrassing, that admitting fear makes you less of a man. So instead of healing insecurity, they hide it behind bravado, behind control, behind silence. And modern dating culture makes it worse. Dating apps reward surface-level confidence. Social media rewards performance over presence. A man can look successful online while feeling completely unanchored inside. Anthropologist Helen Fisher, who has studied the brain chemistry of love for decades, points out that attraction isn't just about looks or status, it's about feeling safe enough to be truly seen by someone. And that's the real tragedy of a fragile man. He can attract people. He just can't let them stay close enough to know the real him, because closeness requires honesty. And honesty requires facing the exact insecurities he spent years running from. Meanwhile, real strength looks almost boring by comparison. It's the man who says I was wrong without spiraling. The man who can hear I need space without panicking. The man who feels jealousy and says so instead of turning it into control. The man who can be fully human, messy, uncertain, sometimes scared, without needing to hide it behind a performance. Psychologist Arthur Aron's research on closeness found that real intimacy grows through vulnerability, not invulnerability. Two people slowly letting each other see what's underneath. A weak man protects his image. A strong man protects the relationship, even when that means letting his image crack a little. Think about that. So here's the bigger picture. Strength was never about dominance. It was never about winning, controlling, or performing confidence for an audience. It's about emotional honesty, the willingness to feel something difficult and stay present anyway. Remember the man from the beginning? Broad shoulders, confident smile, room-owning energy? He wasn't weak because he lacked strength. He was weak because he never learned that real strength includes softness, includes fear, includes saying I don't know and I need help and that hurt me without flinching. That wasn't rejection of masculinity, it was psychology. And once you see these 5 signs clearly, you stop mistaking performance for presence in others and in yourself. If this helped you understand relationships a little better, subscribe and join us. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And until next time, keep learning what really drives human connection.